Hi, I'm Mindy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing an announcement video for Horror Mayhem, which is going to be a reading event taking place the entire month of May that is focused around reading horror. One of my favorite things to do. So, this reading event was created by the Bookish Bryants and it follows similar structure to New World's November for science fiction and February fantasy stories for fantasy, and it is time for horror, the moment I've been waiting for. And like those other events, this will be split into 4 weeks with different prompts for each week. And we're going to be focusing on reading short stories, novellas, and novels under 250 pages. It's a great way for people to dabble and try just a little something short into the genre if you're not used to reading horror very much and you just want to try it. And also great if you want to try a lot of different authors, to find new authors in the genre that you might want to look into more. And that's kind of what I'll be doing, and I'm really looking forward to it. And it's not just the Bookish Bryants and myself that are going to be co-hosting this event. There are so many people that Scott and Becky from the Bookish Bryants got together to help host this event, and it is a great lineup. All of the channels of the hosts will be linked down below so you can check out all their channels. The host channels range from only reading horror, reading quite a bit of horror but lots of other things, kind of like myself, to only dabbling every once in a while, to not really reading horror at all and wanting to try it out. And that's exactly what we're trying to encourage in May. So I hope that you will all join us in reading. Even one short story would be great. But let me tell you what the weeks are, and then I'm going to share my TBR, what I'm going to be trying to read, which is a lot, of course, because I always go overboard. The prompts for the weeks. Week 1 is going to focus on supernatural beings and creatures. Those are some of my favorite stories. Week 2 is Gothic horror, which can be any kind of Gothic story, traditional Gothic stories, or Southern Gothic, which I'm going to be reading a bit of. Then week 3 is cosmic horror. On top of the traditional Lovecraftian stories, we are also going to include things not of our world, so science fiction horror. And then folk horror will be week 4. So what will I be trying to read? A lot. Week 1, supernatural beings and creatures. I have a couple of novellas. First one is After Me, the Great Flood by Jayson Robert Ducharme. I received this as a gift, and I've been looking forward to reading it. This is a haunted house story. I'm also going to read Come On Up to the House by Dane Cobain. I will go ahead and link Dane's booktube channel down below as well. And this one is also a haunted house story, and it's a novella, and there's also a screenplay in the back as well. So I'm gonna read that. I'm also going to be reading Bones, which is a collection of short stories by Andrew Cull. There are 4 monster stories in here. I believe they're haunting stories, ghost stories, but they could be other monsters as well. They just say 4 monsters, 4 stories. And Andrew Cull wrote my favorite book read of 2021, The Remains, and he knows how to pull at the heartstrings and do characters really, really well. So that's what I'm looking forward to in this book. I also want to read I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. So far, I have only read Hell House from Richard Matheson. Really like that. Actually, I think I've read a science fiction story or two as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to reading I Am Legend. Apocalyptic story with vampires. And that's a novella, I believe. And then I also have 4 other stories from this collection picked out to read as well that have creatures. So I'm going to read Witch War, Dance of the Dead, and The Funeral. And then I was looking through Books of Blood by Clive Barker. This is a bind-up of volumes 1 through 3 of Books of Blood, and there are tons of stories in here that are creature stories. And I'm going to read as many as I can after finishing all of those other books that I talked about. Yep, I got lots to choose from. And this has been a book I've wanted to read. I put aside to read this year, along with all these other ones. So, yeah, if I can get to some of those, that would be great. That is like... Oh, wait, I think there's one more. Yeah, there's one more story in The Razorblades in My Head by Donnie Goodman. Also has a BookTube channel, so that will be linked down below by Dane's channel. And there's one story I was going to read from this collection. This one, The Stranger in the Squared Circle. So that's the story I'll be reading from this. I believe that is, was it vampire story? I can't remember, unfortunately. But yeah, that's the creature one. Then week 2 is Gothic horror. And for Gothic horror, I'm mostly focusing on Southern Gothic because these are 2 books that I had set aside to read this year, and it's a perfect opportunity to do so. And they're both by Michael McDowell. The Elementals and Cold Moon Over Babylon, classics in the Southern Gothic genre. And I am also going to read one more classically Gothic style story, and that is in this collection, Women in Trouble by R. St. Clair. R. St. Clair has a BookTube channel as well. Regina's Haunted Library, that will be linked down below. She is also a co-host, so it'll be linked twice. But the story I'm going to read from this collection is As Mad as Wild Waves, which, with a little bit of research, I found was a Gothic tale. So I am looking forward to that. So that's what I'm going to read for Gothic Horror Week. Week 3, Cosmic Horror. I have a couple of sci-fi horror short stories I'm going to read from The Razorblades in My Head. I'm going to read the story It's Not Always Why. And then from Women in Trouble, I'm going to read An Empty Vessel. On top of that, I have another novella I want to read that I have had on my Kindle forever and have been excited but somehow passing up, and that is The Worm and His Kings by Haley Piper. And then, if I have time after that, which I hope I will, I think I will, for at least a couple stories, I'm going to read as many stories from this collection of H.P. Lovecraft, the, origin of cosmic horror, pretty much. I've only read 3 stories from this collection so far, so there's quite a few left to go. I'm going to start with The Color Out of Space and go from there. Then, last week, folk horror. From the Books of Blood, I'm going to read one story, which is called In the Hills, the Cities. And then I have a couple of novellas that I've had on my Kindle for a very long time, just crying out for me to read, and this is finally the right opportunity. The first one is The Balance by Kev Harrison. I have heard amazing things about this novella. And then The 5 Turns of the Wheel by Stephanie Ellis, which is a folk horror / fantasy from Silver Shamrock Publishing that I am really looking forward to. And that is everything that I'm hoping to read for Horror Mayhem. Whether you read all horror, a little horror, you dabble, or you just want to try it, I hope that you'll join us for Horror Mayhem. It's going to be a lot of fun. And let me know if you've read any of the books that I'm planning on reading. And do you have any great recommendations under 250 pages for any of these categories? Those could be very helpful. And I will be back very soon with another book-related video. Thanks.